me being successful so early on is because, no matter what, I just purely just, no matter how hard times get with losses or how high moments get with wins, I'm there because I just love it.
The Players Pod is proud to be sponsored by longtime partner WIS. As your go-to accounting and growth partner, WIS understands the power of teamwork, and they're ready to take your business to the next level. To learn more about how WIS can help you succeed, head over to WIS.com. That's WISS.com to accelerate your company's journey today. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Players Pod, where I have the chance to sit down and talk to some of the biggest names in sports about the untold stories behind their success. I'm Kelley O'Hara, and today's guest is Caroline Marks. Caroline Marks, at just 20 years old, is already one of the world's best surfers. The youngest woman to ever qualify for the WSL Championship Tour, Caroline was also the youngest surfer at last year's Tokyo Olympics. Surfing wasn't even her first sport, and yet Caroline racked up 17 national titles by the time she turned 15. She won Rookie of the Year during her first year on the Pro Tour and won her first 2 events during her second year. Often called the future of surfing, Caroline joins us today to talk about the joys and tribulations of being a surfing prodigy. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. How are you doing? Where are we finding you today?
I'm doing good. I'm currently in San Clemente, California. It's
nice.
A beautiful day here, and waves have been fun. Water's been really cold, but not everything can be perfect. But the waves have been fun, so that's all I can ask for, and it's been good. How are you doing?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely not in sunny California. I'm in cold, rainy, overcast Columbus, Ohio. So you are getting the better end of the location today. I'll just say that for sure. So we're going to talk a lot about surfing today, which I'm super excited to have you on. I love surfing. Just even preparing for this interview, I was watching some of your videos and I was just like, one, you're just so fun to watch. And 2, it made me so jealous that you get to surf as your career, which is incredible. But again, we're going to talk about surfing. But first, I want to talk about horseback riding. So you obviously pro surfer now, but when you were younger, you started out doing barrel racing. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How did you get into barrel racing? You grew up in Florida. That to me, just it doesn't add up. How did that happen?
Yeah, I think, normally when I tell people that I was a horseback rider before I started surfing, they're like, where, there's not very many similarities. One's completely on dry land. The other one's just all about being in the ocean and in the water. So, I grew up in Florida with a bunch of brothers, and I have a little 10-year-old sister now, but, I pretty much grew up with all boys and all of their friends, and grew up riding dirt bikes and kind of just playing everything as a kid. I kind of did everything. I played softball. I played a little bit of soccer. I even took tennis lessons. I just kind of, did everything. And we had a little dirt bike track in the back of our yard. And, I've always loved the ocean, but, my oldest brother, Luke, he was a competitive surfer, when I was growing up. So I just kind of thought that, surfing was his thing. And, just from riding dirt bikes and stuff, we'd always go out west, and that's where my horse farm was. So they'd ride dirt bikes while I'd ride my horses. And I've always loved animals. I used to actually want to be a veterinarian growing up. That was my life goal.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of where it started. And then I started, barrel racing, and I loved it. It was super fast paced. It was really fun. Kind of felt like I was riding a dirt bike. So I felt pretty cool and badass. And it kind of just worked out. My brothers would ride their dirt bikes out west, and then I would just horseback ride. So, but yeah, just my whole life goal really is just to impress my brothers. And I started to realize, as I went with horseback riding, I was like, I got to do something that they think is cool. And, that's surfing. So
got it.
That's kind of how I started, just getting into surfing, is just really, I just wanted their approval and them to think I was cool. And
yeah.
So, I just was like, well, I got to do something that they think is cool. And that's kind of where the surfing bug really got crazy for me. So, yeah.
Got it. So you're one of 6, but you have 4 brothers. So where are you in the lineup in terms of all your siblings?
I'm number 3 in the lineup, and that's also if you see like on my jersey, that's the number I selected
Cool.
for my number on tour. That's a big reason why, is because I'm just I love the number 3. 3 and 10 are actually my favorite numbers, but 10 was already taken, so
Okay.
I took 3. But yeah, number 3 in the lineup. So technically the middle child, but yeah, I love it. I couldn't imagine life without each one of my siblings. Everyone's got such a personality, and everyone's just they're like my best friends. So it's really cool.
For sure. I feel like growing up in a big family, it shapes you in a way that is like you just have a completely different experience because you're surrounded by people that you like compete with. Like even I'm one of 3, which is nowhere near one of 6, but I was constantly competing with my siblings, and it sounds like that was what led you to be as good as you've become, was that competitive nature amongst siblings. And you just said that you wanted to impress your brothers, and that's kind of what got you into surfing. So you're barrel racing, horseback riding, but at what point did you transition from that being something you did to surfing being like, at what point were you like, oh, surfing is what I want to do?
Yeah, I think that it's weird. I just always have loved the ocean, and not that I was ever, against surfing or anything. I caught my first wave when I was like 3 years old in Costa Rica, and I loved it, and I've always been a little water baby. But like I said, I just kind of thought that surfing was my brother's thing. I was like, cool, horseback riding's my thing, surfing's my brother's thing. I support him on the water, he supports me, at the farm, and that was just kind of how it was, and I think, yeah, just as I got older, I just wanted to be like them so bad. I used to wear all their clothes. I used to just like do everything they want to do. I'd eat everything that they would eat, like everything. I just wanted to impress them. Like seriously, I was like, my brothers, like they're my biggest heroes.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what is the eight, like how old's your oldest brother, and then the one before you, and then you? Like what is the gap between years?
Yeah, so the older 3, we're all really close. So it goes 23, 21, and then 20. So
Okay.
we're all like very close. And we're all very close, but I'd say like me and my 2 older brothers we're just always together. We just did everything together, and kind of the way my family raised us is we'd always have to support one another, which is really cool, and my parents would always be like, no matter how good the waves are, they tell my brothers, you're going to a horse event, this, no matter what. And same with me, like, hey, no matter what you going on, you committed to watching, your brother's surf contest. And that's just kind of how it was. But yeah, we're all super close. And, yeah, I'd just say like the older I got, the more I just wanted to impress them and just to be more like them. And that's just where I got into surfing. And I'd say at age 11, I that's when I knew I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like I started competing, and I came out to California, and I would always come out to California, during the summer to watch my brother in nationals and USA championships and all the pro juniors. And I'd always just sit there and watch him. And then, one year I entered it because I started getting into surfing, and I ended up winning at Lower Trestles, and I got this big trophy, and they, carried me up the beach, and I had all this attention. I got a sponsorship, and I was like, oh my God, like this is the freaking coolest thing ever. Like I just surfed perfect waves and got a huge trophy, and everyone's talking to me. Like I love this. And that's kind of where I was like, whoa, I might be pretty good at this. If I'm winning a contest this big, I might be pretty good at this. And that's kind of where I was like, I never want to do anything else forever.
Yeah.
I never.
That's cool. You got a taste of success, and you're like, oh, this is sick. I get to surf good waves and also get cool stuff. Like, yeah. Sign me up.
Absolutely. And I just even, traveling with my brothers and doing it with them, it was just so fun just being with them. And then, we all doing, like, there's nothing better than doing what you love with the people that you love the most. And that's what makes, our journey so special, is traveling on the tour and, watching my brother get a crazy wave at J-Bay or getting a barrel somewhere and seeing the stoke on their face is like, it's just as special as, you getting a good wave. So
For sure.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So at that point when you were like, oh, 11 years old, I love surfing, I just got a trophy, I got a sponsorship. Did you at that point stop doing everything else? Like, was it like, oh, full focus on surfing?
Yeah, literally, like it's so funny because I remember my grandpa, I was starting to get very into horseback riding, and I was getting super good at it, and I was competing every weekend, and I was doing good in the competitions, and he was about to buy me a horse, and I literally cold turkeyed horseback riding. Like I literally was like, I'm over it. I'm going to start surfing. And then surfing just came. I kind of have a very, not kind of, I have an all in personality. You know, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I think surfing, just the feeling I got from it was just like nothing else. You know, it's like so therapeutic to me. It's like my release, it's my happy place. And once I just, yeah, once I found the bug for surfing, it's like horseback riding didn't even exist really. It's like it happened that fast. And you know, I still have a soft spot for horses, and I visit my farm sometimes back in Florida when I do go back home, which is like really fun. And but surfing is just, yeah, it just took everything over. I was like, this is what I want to do, no questions asked.
When was the last time you were on a horse?
Oh man, it's probably got to be a couple years.
Really?
Kind of scare me now. I used to be so fearless of them, and now I'm like, whoa, I can't believe I was just like 7 years old, like, you know, riding this huge animal. But
Totally.
yeah, no, it's been a little while, but it's fun, and I still, like I said, have a soft spot for. I love animals. I love all that. I actually just bought myself a puppy, which is fun. But
Oh, what kind?
golden doodle, mini golden doodle. So
Nice. What's its name?
Axel, he's sweetest.
Oh, that's awesome. So like you said, you cold turkey barrel racing and horses, which is I kind of find funny because you clearly were very good at it. Your grandfather was about to buy you a horse, and you were just like, no, I'm doing surfing. So what did that transition look like from, oh, you were doing other things to surfing is what I want to do? Like, were you at that point at 11, you're like, oh, I want to make the tour? Or you're just like, no, I want to, you know, this is what I want to commit to. I want to spend all my time going to competitions, that sort of thing.
You know, honestly, I didn't really have like a, you know, like the tour in mind or, you know, certain contests I want to do. It was more just like, I purely just loved surfing. And I just purely was like, I just want to surf all day. And I don't know where that's going to lead me. And I don't know, you know, where that brings me, but I just want to be in the water every day. And any free time I have after school or before school is going to go straight to the water. And that's where I want to be. And, you know, I've always been a very competitive person. So I think the competition side was something that I never really had to work on. You know, I just was like, I love this. And then I would enter contests just because I loved competing. And that's kind of how it happened. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you won the U12 US Championships in 2013. And is this the competition you're talking about at Trestles that you entered and you won?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did your family react to that?
Yeah, they, you know, my brothers, like, growing, like when I first started surfing and stuff, they're very hard on me. You know, a lot of constructive criticism. I'd come in crying, I'd say 90% of the time.
From surfing with them?
Oh my God, they tell me, you know, you can't stick your butt out like that, or you should have hit that section. Like, what are you doing? Like, why'd you kick out? You know, like constructive criticism. They're just really trying to push me and help me. But in the time, you know, I was like super young, and I was just like, you guys are so mean. Like, I hate you guys. And I just thought they were picking on me. But, you know, now looking back, I'm so grateful they did that. And they're still really hard on me. You know, they're my biggest supporters, but still really hard on me. And, I think my parents, you know, they never pushed me to do a certain thing. They just were like, hey, we just want you to, their rule, you know, kind of raising all of us was like, hey, we just want you to do an after school sport so you're tired at the end of the night so you fall asleep, you know. And that was kind of the only thing that they wanted is like, you know, as long as you get good grades and you do something after school, you know, we don't care what sport you choose, but something, you know, to kind of keep you busy. And so they're very supportive in whatever path, whether it was horseback riding or surfing or, you know, soccer, whatever it would have been. They're always very supportive. But I think it definitely made it easier that I chose surfing because, you know, the whole family loves to surf and loves the ocean, and my older brother did it. So they definitely weren't mad about it.
Yeah. At what point do you think your parents realized, like, oh, Caroline could be really good at this? Do you think they realized it before you?
For sure. I think that, you know, my brothers would tell me like, hey, you're really good at this. Like, I think that if you really put your mind to it and you kept going, I think you can be like super gnarly. And my parents would always say that too. And I just kind of just didn't really think much of it. You know, I was like, came straight off a horse and onto a board. So I didn't really think much of it. And I think, you know, like I said, when I started winning those, you know, bigger amateur events and, you know, pro juniors and stuff like that, I think that's when it started to click in my head of like, whoa, okay, like, these girls have been surfing like twice as long as me. And I've been hearing their names everywhere just from traveling with my brother and,
Yeah.
knowing what's going on. And I'm like, if I'm beating them, then I must be pretty good at this. So then I think that's when it started to click in my head. But 100% they realized before me that that I was, pretty good. So yeah.
Do you think so? Obviously, you grew up in Florida, and Florida gets a bad rap because people are like, "Oh, there's no good waves in Florida," which where you're from is same place as like Kelly Slater, Hobgoods. Like, how did that? Do you think that impacted you in a way of like, "Oh, I'm coming from a surfing hotspot. I could potentially like." Did you look up to those people? Did that contribute to your success so early on? Would you say?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely look up to, Lisa Anderson, Frida Zamba, the Hopgoods,
Yeah.
Kelly Slater, he's like my hero. And so, yeah, absolutely, um, looked up to all those guys. And I remember, when I was younger, I'd even see them, I'd sometimes see Kelly surfing in Florida and I'd be the biggest fangirl and think with people. And it's definitely really, really motivating and super cool to, Florida, I don't, I think the waves are better than people think, but it also is the greatest waves in the world, so it's not
Totally.
like, Hawaii or Australia or something where it's just like some of the world's best waves. So, seeing that, Kelly Slater is the greatest of all time and Frida Zamba and Lisa Anderson, they're all world champions, seeing that, seeing where they came from and seeing what they accomplished is definitely very cool. And, it just shows you that, if you put your mind to something that you can really accomplish it. And there's, something to say about people from Florida. I think we definitely aren't jaded. We appreciate when the waves are good. And I think that's what makes, everyone, from Florida a great surfer is because we just want to surf all day because we're not used to the best waves. So
Totally. But I kind of feel like the reason Florida has so many great surfers is because you guys have to make the best out of what is available at a given time. Like you don't have great waves all the time like a California or Hawaii or other places. Do you think that's kind of what it is? Like you can go out there and make the best of even a crappy day.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I mean by like, getting jaded or whatever, like no matter what, if the waves were breaking, that was like a good day, I was okay, cool. Like I can't wait for the wind to come up because that means there'll be swell, so it was, anytime there was a rideable wave, it was a good day to surf. And so I absolutely agree. I think that's a huge part of it is we're just really appreciative of when the waves are good and definitely, making the best out of it when it's not that good. I think, I think that's all a really, really good thing. I think you're, totally right with that.
For sure. So you start surfing at like 10, 11. Well, you've been surfing, but you start competing 10, 11. You win 17 national titles by the time you're 15. And I was like, how did she do, like, can you explain, there's multiple national titles you can win a year, right? Or I also read that you won national titles in multiple age groups each year.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think the reason why that, I know that's like a pretty short time span with like a, big number of titles and stuff. I think, honestly, I remember one year I entered every single division from U12 to U18 to, open girls to explore women's to open women. So there are, multiple divisions. And so I would just enter it all and just hang in my wetsuit all day long, get the worst neck tan you've ever seen and just try to surf every heat possible. And just because I wanted to surf more and more and more and more. And so, I just would, enter every division. And those are some of the most fun days, looking back, like as a Grom, just surfing all day in your wetsuit and just surfing a million heats a day, that's kind of what I live for. So,
what did your life look like at that point? You're 12 to 15. Are you homeschooled? Like, how's that looking?
Yeah. So, I went to public school up until about 6th grade. And then once we moved to California, we'd still go back and forth a little bit, but, I was gone quite a bit. So I ended up, starting a homeschool program and kind of just been online ever since then. And I graduated high school in 2020. So
congrats.
Thank you. It was a, highlight of my year.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Thanks. yeah, I just would, like, I guess like a normal kid, right? I would just, but do school online. And my parents have always been very strict with me on school. And they actually used to not let me travel unless if I got good grades, which, at the time I was like, you guys suck. Like, what do you mean? Like, of course I'm going to surf. That's all that matters. But I'm really
Totally.
grateful that they were, very hard on me with school. And
Yeah, good for them.
yeah, they were like, hey, our number one goal is to raise a good human. And the fact that you are a great surfer is just a bonus, but we want to raise a good human. So that was like really cool. And so, yeah, I would do school and just surf all day. That was pretty much what my life consisted of. So,
Nice. So you turn pro at 15. What went into that decision?
yeah, I think the year that I qualified, my goal going into that season wasn't actually to qualify for the tour. I actually, was entering those events just to get experience in different waves around the world and to compete against, different girls from around the world and, obviously surf against some, tour competitors. And, that was my main focus going into those events. And, I just remember getting halfway through the year and just, getting some good results. And I didn't really think much of it, but I was like, well, okay, like I'm kind of, right there. And people would kind of tell me, but I was, honestly pretty oblivious. I was still doing NSA nationals and USA champs and amateur events and pro juniors and the same year that I qualified. So, I just, yeah, I didn't really think much of it. And then, I remember at the Supergirl Pro, I was, in qualification, in a qualification spot. And there was one more event left in Spain. And I wasn't entered at that point. And my dad and my coach at the time were like, hey, maybe you should just enter just to see what happens. And, worst case, you just go to Spain and experience a new place and we have a fun trip. And
Yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean? And so, I ended up getting second and, qualifying for the tour. And yeah, it just, that's pretty much how it happened. I wasn't, that wasn't my intention going into the year, but, looking back, I'm so happy it happened that way, because I think, not putting that pressure on myself just kind of made it happen naturally. And just made me had so much fun that year because I didn't have much pressure on myself. I was just purely just doing it to get experience and just to surf a bunch of different waves. So
Yeah, that's pretty incredible because I feel like a lot of, for the listeners, the way it works is, and correct me if I'm wrong, World Tour, you have to go through qualifying series. You have to get a certain number of points, be in a top, how many people from the QS, it's QSL, right?
For the women's, just
Yeah.
QS.
QS.
Yeah, but top six.
Top six from that qualify for the World Tour. And there are women on the qualifying series for years that, never even qualify, which is pretty incredible that like first year you do a handful of QS events and you qualify. So like, did you feel when you qualified, you said you didn't go into the year thinking, oh, I want to qualify, but when you did you feel pressured then? Like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to be on the World Tour. Like, holy shit, I'm about to be competing every event against the best of the best.
Yeah, I was definitely really nervous, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is here. Obviously, eventually my goal was to qualify and to be on the tour. And that was like my dream, but I wasn't necessarily thinking that it would happen that fast, or that wasn't my goal that year. I just was 15. So I was just, like I said, trying to do those events for experience. And, when I did qualify, I kind of just was like, whoa, like, holy smokes, like that happened, like it was kind of just like, I didn't really know what to think. And I just kind of was like, I would ask my parents and my coach and be like, hey, do you guys think I'm ready? And this is a big change of competing against my heroes and all that. But, the thought of saying no was just like, not really a question either. I was like, I'm not going to say no, but like, well, this is a big decision to make, and I really was just mainly trusting my parents and to see what they thought and, see who was able to travel with me and not, just because, yeah, like I said, being 15, you still want your parents there and your family. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big step of, traveling and being gone 10 months out of the year. So I kind of just trusted in them. And yeah, so happy I went for it, but it definitely took a lot of thought because, it was obviously a big step. And, at the time when I qualified, it was I was like kind of the only new person. So it was just kind of me and then the tour that's been there for the last 7 years. So, I feel like I was kind of the new kid on the block and there was no one really similar to my age. So I was just kind of like, okay, that was another big thing too. But Thankfully all the girls were really welcoming and really cool. And, it was a good transition. So, and I
Do
think
you,
the other thing that kind of helped me too was, I had a couple wild cards prior to qualifying, which helped a lot because those wild cards, I was incredibly starstruck. I remember having Carissa Moore in my heat and Stephanie Gilmore and just being so starstruck that I wouldn't even really catch a wave because I was just like, oh my God, they're right next to me. And, by the time I qualified, it kind of transitioned into, okay, like I respect these girls so much and they're my biggest heroes, but now I want to beat them. So it kind of slowly transitioned to that. But before I was like, oh my God, like they're right next to me and I just couldn't believe it. So
yeah, I can't imagine doing that. What do you think the biggest, like, did you feel like there was a big immediate change that happened from going from, okay, you're amateur to now you're pro, you're on the world tour?
I think if anything, I just, I'm definitely really hard on myself and I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself. And I think the biggest thing for me was, you go from amateur and junior and, obviously, you're used to winning a lot and, winning a lot of weekends on almost every weekend and competing all the time. And yeah, just having that winning feeling. And then, all of a sudden you get to this elite level of a way smaller group of girls and everyone's so good and so gnarly and has, 12 years of experience on me at these waves that I've never been to. And, all of a sudden you have really hard losses, you lose early, you have hard heats every time. There's really good moments. There's really bad moments. So I think that was the biggest transition of, kind of going from that amateur level straight into the pros. And, so I think you just kind of have to remember, like, how it is so hard to win and, a lot of things have to go your way and everyone is so darn good. And so I think that was kind of a little bit of a change for me. But at this, thankfully I had some good success because going into that year, I honestly was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna make a heat. I'm just like here to surf good waves and like surfing my heroes. And like, I just felt like I was going to be like a sponge, I was like, if I'm not winning, I'm learning. And that was kind of my mindset that year. And I would have pressure on myself, but at the same time, I was like, I'm 15 years old. Like these girls have the pressure on them to beat me, like, so just kind of having that in the back of my head really helped me just kind of, I feel like, have a lot of success early on because I didn't put all that pressure on myself. But that's definitely a lot easier said than done. At times I obviously still would put pressure on myself and all that. But yeah.
So you won Rookie of the Year, which were you in when that award goes to best rookie on the tour, were there any other rookies or like how did that work? Because you said you went in no expectations, but then you win Rookie of the Year. So it's like, were you thinking, oh, I want to win this? Like, what was it?
No, I didn't even think, honestly, I didn't even like put like in my head, I was like, I'm already, doing better than I thought. I'm already on the tour at 15. I wasn't really expecting this. And in my head, I was just like, hey, I'm just surfing with my heroes. I'm surfing really good waves. This has been my dream forever. And it happened sooner than I thought, but I'm just going to soak it all in. And that was just kind of my mindset. And I just, had a lot of good people around me, I think, which was really helpful as well. I had an amazing support crew, amazing coach. Thankfully, my whole family surfs, so my brothers would travel with me a lot and my parents. And so I was just trying to more focus on, having a good time instead of just so much about the result, because sometimes, it's very easy to base your happiness off results, and that can get very hard because, you're not going to win everything. And there's going to be really good times, but there's also going to be really hard times. And just kind of knowing that, going to that year, knowing that my coach would just tell me like, hey, there's going to be amazing moments and I can guarantee that for you, but I'm also going to guarantee you there's going to be a lot of hard moments. And, the moments that are hard is when you have to be strong and keep your head up and keep going and push forward and know that there's good things ahead. And so that's kind of what kept me going in those hard moments. But, overall, it was an incredible, my first year on tour was an incredible year. And, I think I definitely exceeded my expectation. I didn't really have expectations, but I definitely did a little better than I thought I would. I just didn't really know. And it definitely worked out. So that was a good feeling.
Well, you ended your first year, Rookie of the Year, and then you go into your second year, which is, I think, the first time that the WSL equalized prize money, correct, for the men and women in each event. And you go into this second year and you win the first two competitions of that year, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, the first one was the Pro Gold Coast Championship in Australia.
Sorry. I won the first event. Sorry, not Bell. I got third at Bell's. Won the first event.
Well, you win the first one and you beat 7-time world champ Stephanie Gilmore, who is a surfing legend. She's been on the pod. I think she's incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah. What was that like to win? Like, was that that was your first world tour win, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. That was such an awesome event. Wow. Yeah, that event was kind of like a dream scenario. You know, I had pretty much my two favorite surfers ever, you know, that were posters on my wall as a little girl, you know, Stephanie Gilmore, and then I had Carissa Moore in the final. And so that, you know, was just so amazing because I was able to be up against both of them. And, you know, Stephanie, you know, Duramba, where we competed at that year, was, you know, it's pretty much her backyard. So that was definitely pretty nerve-wracking to come up against someone that has that wave so wired. And obviously she's such an amazing surfer and she's so gnarly. And so I knew that was going to be really hard, but I also like really thrive and love those heats, you know, because they bring the best out of you. You know that you have to get the best waves and surf out of your skin to beat them. So I love that challenge. And that was amazing. You know, I think the first event is really fun too, because you know, everyone's had a bit of off time. Everyone's been training. Everyone has, you know, new boards. Everyone's fresh. Everyone's, you know, excited. Everyone's ready to go. You know, you haven't seen people for a little while, so you don't know who's like surfing really good. You don't like, you know, people are improving. So it's really fun. And there's also a lot of pressure on the first event, you know, because it's the first event of the season and everyone wants to start good. So that was a dream event for me. And, you know, to have Carissa in the final, I think she's been a person that I think looked up to the most besides Stephanie. I just love the way she surfs, and she's such a sweet person. And so to have her in the final, have my hero in the final, and to come out on top, and the first equal pay was just like, it was such an amazing day. And my whole family was there too, which was incredible. And, you know, I have such a big family, so the fact that they're all there with me was just such a dream, and it's something that I'll never forget. And it was a super, super emotional day. So it was.
Yeah, I'm sure. Every successful athlete and entrepreneur knows that setbacks, mistakes, and losses are all a part of becoming a champion. Like a great coach or teammate, WIS helps business leaders find the vision and strength they need to succeed. Whether it's international taxes or advice around staffing, mergers, and finance, WIS is ready to assist your company in its championship journey. As proud supporters of female entrepreneurs, WIS not only sponsors the Players Pod, but they also sponsor the Just Women Sports brand new Ballers Market, a first-of-its-kind online marketplace for female athlete entrepreneurs. You can check it out at justwomensports.com/ballers-marketplace. To further this mission, WIS is giving away an unreal prize package of Ballers Market gear and JWS swag. To enter the giveaway, tweet at both Just Women Sports at JustWSports and WIS at WISLLP with the name of a coach who has helped you succeed either on or off the field. And then head to WIS.com, that's WISS.com, to learn how WIS can help you turn a setback into a winning opportunity.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Dawn Staley, and I know you all have been hearing me talk about UFOs, but I wanted to really drive it home for you how much I love these recovery slippers, and I'm just so excited to share them with you. Believe me when I tell you, once you try these, you'll never wear another slide a day in your life, especially if you got knees and ankles like mine. But I'm not stopping. UFOs allows me to stay active, walking my boy Champ, working out, and of course, coaching. Each pair have this incredible technology and footbed that cradles your arches, and UFOs are developed with intention to reduce stress on the body and help you recover. And it works. Trust me on this. I know a lot of athletes who wear UFOs regularly and love them, but I also know a lot of nurses and teachers who use them. They're that good. Check them out at UFOs.com. That's OOFOS.com. They have a ton of different styles, but all with the same foam and footbed. They are seriously life-changing footwear.
What do you think? So I obviously researched and like listened to some of the things that, I don't know if he's still your coach, Parsons.
Yeah.
In talking about you, how you're built, you know, how you surf, but do you think that your competitiveness is what gives you, like, what do you think your edge is? Because you've had so much success so early on. Like, you personally, what do you think is your biggest, like, secret weapon?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Honestly, I don't really know. I just think that I just think that, the fact that I purely just love surfing so much, regardless if I was a professional surfer or not, I would be surfing every day just because I purely just love it. And I think that's been a big part of, me being successful so early on, is because, no matter what, I just purely just, no matter how hard times get with losses or how high moments get with wins, I'm there because I just love it. And I love competing, and I love the process of it. And I think that's been something that, I can't ever imagine, not surfing, and I can't ever imagine not being competitive. And so I think that's kind of what, makes this journey so special, is that it doesn't feel like a job. And I also have such an amazing support crew, and I have a really good team around me, which is, so important. So I don't really know, but I just love surfing, and that's maybe that's it. I don't know.
No, I mean, sometimes that's that's not all it is, but it is true. You have to love it because there's so much sacrifice and so much, you do come up against so many obstacles and have to grind through so many things. So passion and love for the sport is a huge part, because there are some people who are naturally so talented or naturally super competitive, but they are not as successful because they don't love it. So I think that's a great answer. So 2019, you start out right out of the gates, like you said, win the first comp. You're ranked as world number 1. How did it feel to wear the yellow jersey? For the listeners, the number 1 surfer going into each event who's ranked number 1 wears the yellow jersey. This is your second year on tour and you're putting on the yellow jersey. Like, were you like, oh, wow, this is like heavy, like this is a lot, or how did it feel?
I was just like, holy smokes, like, this is crazy. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, I was just like, this is so cool. And this is like something that I've dreamed of for so long, and like, it gives me the chills talking about it. Like, it's just, it's just like crazy. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I felt, obviously a bit of pressure, going into bells, like, oh my God, I'm number 1 in the world. But at the same time, I was just like on such a high from winning. And I was just like, this is so cool. And I was just like really trying to embrace it. And, when I did feel a lot of pressure, I would just, have the people around me that love me and support me and tell me, hey, it's all good. Like, no matter what, we love you. And you're already doing like so amazing. And, the only thing that you can do is just try your hardest out there. And you do that every time. And that's, all you can really do. And the results will come and go. And so, yeah, that was crazy. I remember that. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I have the yellow jersey. Like, this is wild. And I was able to have it for a few events too, which was so special. And I was just like really excited, more than feeling pressure. I was just like really stoked and like, just like, holy cow, like, this is crazy. Like, this has been my dream for so long. And I'm ahead of my heroes. Like, I'm ranked higher. Like, how is this even possible? Like, I was just like,
yeah,
what is going on? But that was fun times.
I'm sure. Also, I feel like I would have been like, oh God, so stressed. But it's good that you enjoyed
you want
it.
those nerves though, like,
yeah,
the excited nerves is like, which it's cool. Like, that's
totally.
What it, like, when you win, it makes it like so cool, because it's like you're, you have those exciting nerves, and that's what makes it so special. So yeah,
for sure. So 2019 is the year that you had to qualify for the Olympics. And did you go into that year thinking about the Olympics, or was it just like, oh, I want to be successful on the tour?
Definitely the Olympic thing, obviously that was something very new for all of us. And we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't really know what was going to happen. I definitely had the Olympics in the back of my head, but for me going into that year was more just like, hey, like, I just want to surf really good. And I just want to surf the absolute best I can in my heats, and just progress my surfing. And I didn't really have like a result in mind or a goal in mind. It was more just like, I just want to surf really, really good. And just enjoy this whole process. And that was mainly my goal going into it. And I'd say, closer to the season, once I started, obviously when I won a couple events and it got to Hawaii at the end of the year after I had the Europe leg, I was like, well, okay, I'm right there for the world title and for the Olympics. And I knew it was going to be very hard to make the, American women's team because of how good everyone is and how competitive it is and how gnarly it is. And so I knew it was going to be very, very hard. So that's why I was just like, I'm just going to put all my focus on surfing my best and the rest will take care of itself. And so that was kind of my focus going into that year. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, for all the listeners out there, you qualify. So the qualification comes down to the final event of the year, correct?
Yeah.
And it's you, Carissa Moore, Lakey Peterson that are up to potentially qualify. And it all depends on how you do in this event.
And we were all like literally one heat away. There was some crazy stat on like what, I think it was like the first time in like a lot of years that there was like 3 Americans like right there. It was like some crazy stat, but it was very, very, we were all it was literally like all one heat away. Like it was crazy. So
yeah. So so you end up qualifying, but you end up taking second in the World Tour. So how did that feel to be, I've qualified for the Olympics, and I think you qualified before the final, correct? Like, how did that work in terms of qualified for the Olympics because you made a certain heat, but then Carissa Moore ended up winning the World Tour that year. So walk me through like what those couple days looked like of that event and the highs and lows, because I feel like that would just be an absolute roller coaster to be on.
Definitely. After the Europe leg, I had a very successful Europe leg, and we all, myself, Lakey, and Carissa all did very well in Europe. The first event, it was me and Carissa in the final, and Carissa won. And then the second event was me and Lakey in the final, and then I won. So it was very, very competitive. And, we had about a month until Hawaii started. So, there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of like hype around, the event and the Olympics and the world title. So it was a lot. And then, we get to Maui and, all of a sudden there's a week long of a waiting period, or a week long of lay days because, the event's on and there's this swell that's coming and everyone knows this swell's coming. So that just added more anticipation and more pressure and more hype around it. So it was kind of like this big story. And that was probably the most pressure I ever felt in my life. I was like, holy cow, like, absolutely the most pressure. And I think now I would have felt even more pressure, but then at that time, that was the most pressure I ever felt in my life. I was like, holy smokes, like it's not just the world title, but it's the Olympics, and the Olympics is like the elite of the elite. So we had one, when the contest finally ran, I remember having to make a certain heat against Coco Ho, and if I were to win that heat, I would pass Lakey and qualify for the Olympic spot, and that happened, and I made it to the quarters, and it was crazy. I was obviously on this high, and my family was there, and it was so amazing and so special and so beautiful, and and then the very next day, I still felt like there was a piece missing though, because I was like, okay, like, that's amazing. I made the Olympics, but now I got to compete for the world title tomorrow. And we all knew the final day was going to be tomorrow because that's when the swell was. And obviously not getting that world title stung a little bit for sure. But at the same time, I gave it my all, and I absolutely tried my hardest. I worked my butt off, and but yeah, definitely stung a little, like making the Olympics was incredible. But then, I was definitely on a high, and then like not getting the world title definitely put me back down to a low. So, yeah, but it was such a fun time, and looking back, it was all documented, and I was just like, wow, that was like me looking back now, I was like, wow, I was under a lot of pressure, like
yeah.
I honestly too, I think I didn't really realize the magnitude of the Olympics because it was surfing's first time, and we didn't really know what to expect, and I honestly never really grew up watching the Olympics as much. I'd watch Simone Biles and Lindsey Vonn and some of my heroes, but surfing was never in the Olympics, and all I cared about was surfing. So all I'd watch was the WSL. And so I think the last Summer Olympics too, prior to this last one, I was like 13. So I just was pretty oblivious and just getting into surfing then. So I didn't really realize the magnitude of the Olympics. And I think if, now that I've been, I think I would have felt way more pressure because I know how insane it is and how incredible it is and how amazing it is to make that accomplishment. So Yeah, crazy times.
Yeah, that like reading that I was like, dang, I didn't realize that's what it came down to for you in that final event. And I mean, still, you make the Olympics, incredible, second on tour for the year. You finish second on your second year, right? Like that's insane. Such pretty awesome. 2020 happens. Year starts out normal. Obviously, COVID hits, and Olympics gets postponed. WSL ran like a truncated, shortened tour that year, correct? Or no, there was just like a couple competitions.
Over 2020, there was just like a couple competitions,
Okay.
like specialty events. Obviously
Yeah.
internationals couldn't really travel to America, and then vice versa. So, we had some local events. We had like the Supergirl. We did an event at the Surf Ranch, but other than that, we had no contest. So.
So was going into the Olympics, was that kind of your first? I mean, you had contests, but was that the thing that you were focused on for 2021? Tour didn't start again, did it?
Tour started again in 2021.
Okay, so you're on the tour, you're competing, you go into Olympics. How was your lead in to the Olympics? Like, did you feel pressure going to the Olympics? Because it didn't seem like you really knew or felt the pressure of qualifying. But then once you knew you were going, were you like, oh, I really want to win a gold medal? Like, were you putting that pressure on yourself?
Yeah, I think going into the 2021 season, I was really focused on just the tour, and I was excited to compete. And I was like, we just had a year off and we're going to Australia. And I was also just really nervous about COVID. And, I had that like false positive and didn't make the charter flight. And so that was another big thing.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God, what a
yeah,
disaster.
yeah, it was a disaster, but I ended up, thankfully I was, healthy, ended up making it and able to compete, which was awesome. And it all ended up working out. So I think, the beginning of 2021, I was just so excited to compete again because having that year off just made me realize like how much I love the tour and how much I love competing and how much like that's all I want to do. So I was mainly just, excited to compete. And I think once it got closer to the Olympics, when I did get back from Australia, after that 3 months and it was 4 events and it was getting into the summertime and we were starting to train for the Olympics, that's when I started to feel I wouldn't say as much pressure, I think, because I was still very oblivious of the Olympics and the magnitude that it holds. And my parents were telling me, but they were like, you'll tell us, once you've gone, you'll understand like why we're telling you all these things. And
Yeah.
so I was just, I was really excited. I was a little bit nervous. I really just didn't know what to expect. And so, so I think, but then once I was there and realized the magnitude of it, I was just like, holy cow, like, I just want to get in the water. I just want to like, catch my first wave. And, once I do that, I'm an Olympian forever. And like, that's so cool. And
So cool.
yeah, we had such an amazing team and everyone was, staying together and, surfing such an individual sport. But, this year with COVID, I think, not having family there, I think made all the athletes bond, which was really cool. And something that was pretty unique to all of us as surfers, like I said, because it's not, it's a very individual sport. So
Yeah.
the Olympic experience was probably one of the coolest times of my life. It was just so amazing. And I feel like I was just trying to soak it all in and it was incredible. So
What
yeah.
would you say your favorite part of being at the Olympics or being an Olympian was?
Oh, wow. I mean, honestly, just like, representing your country is just, you feel so proud and, putting on that jersey and you're not just doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for your country and you're just everyone. And it's just like, it's just so amazing. And to have that team support too, and just to be with the surfers and see them out in the water and see how hard they're trying. And it's so motivating and it's so cool. And to go to the village and see the other athletes, it was just so beautiful and so awesome. And just to realize like the magnitude of the Olympics, like how many people, outside of this like surf bubble, how many people it touched was like so cool. And I think, a lot of people that didn't really know about surfing before are such fans of surfing now because it was in the Olympics. And, it brings, it's one of the only things that brings the whole world together. And so it was just really cool to be a part of. And I think that was the coolest part is I just felt very proud and very, very honored to represent my country. And that was just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally agree. I feel like it's a completely unique experience being an Olympian because you're on Team USA, which like you said, surfing's a very individual sport. soccer, we represent the US as like the US women's national team, but when we're playing, I don't feel connected with other US athletes. But like when we all go to the Olympics, I feel like I'm on Team USA and all the other athletes are on the same team, and because we are. And I just think it's like such a special, unique feeling that it can't be replicated anywhere else, which is why Olympics is so cool. Yeah. So Olympics, you make the bronze medal heat.
Oh yeah, yep. The qualifier heat. The qualifier heat.
Got it.
Yeah, the qualifier heat. So I made it into. I made it to the semis, and if you lose in the semis, you go into like a qualifying heat with the other person that lost in the semifinals, and whoever wins that final, wins the the bronze medal.
Got it. And so you fall in that one, so you come fourth overall in the Olympics.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like to miss out on a medal? Clearly it wasn't good. Like I know, like I feel kind of like a jerk asking that question, but it's just because you had so much success. Like, how did that moment feel?
That was really tough. And I think, it was also really tough too, because up until that heat, I was putting up the highest scores and I felt very good. My boards felt amazing. I felt very in tuned. I felt like, everything was just kind of flowing and going my way. And, that final day was really tricky. The waves kind of turned into like a washing machine. And
when I watched the competition, I was like, this doesn't look good at all.
It was very, very difficult and pretty much victory at sea. And it didn't really feel like me against my competitor. It just felt like me against the ocean. And, that's one of the beauties of our sport is that, we rely on Mother Nature, and sometimes you can be feeling the best of your life and get the worst result, or sometimes you can be feeling just pretty good and win, and that's just like how it goes sometimes. And, I as hard, it was obviously very hard and definitely a bummer because I feel like I was just right there. And I think I needed like a 3 or something. And it was just felt literally like the hardest 3 of my life to get. And it was so impossible. And, but at the same time, I worked my butt off to get there. I did everything I could in my power to do my best and get my best result, and trained really hard and surfed really hard. And, did everything I could to do my best. And, sometimes that's, all you can do. And I think knowing that made it a little bit easier because I truly, really did everything I possibly could to do my best. And sometimes it's just not going to go your way. And that's, just the way it is. And that's what keeps you really hungry, and that's what keeps you coming back, and that's what keeps you going. So it definitely sucked. I was not stoked on it, but at the same time, like next year's another qualifying year for the next Olympics already. And overall, the Olympic experience was one of the most amazing ones of my life. And I will never, ever forget it. So it was a beautiful thing, and hopefully I'm in the next one. So that'll be really cool. Another chance for a medal.
For sure. Well, those are very wise words from a 20-year-old. And, I totally agree and completely understand what you're saying when it's like, sometimes it just doesn't go your way and there's nothing you can do. And the fact that that you gave it everything you had, that's the most, comfort you're going to get in that moment. So how did 2021 end for you in terms of the tour?
Yeah, so 2021 I started off really really well. I went to Australia, and I started off in Newcastle, and I got a third, which is a good result. And then I won the next one, and then the 2 events after that, I felt really good, but just had 2 ninths, just kind of had 2 really, really tricky heats. And 2021, there was some amazing moments. I'd say, yeah, the Olympics and that win was amazing. And but it was definitely a pretty tricky year with a little bit of a shorter season and COVID. Yeah. Kind of quarantining, and it was a lot of change, and I think that was a little bit of a guinea pig year in a way, is where we didn't really know what to expect as far as, okay, what's quarantine going to like? What are these events going to be like? What's travel going to be like? Because it was the first time we started traveling, during the pandemic. And so I kind of told myself that going into the year, like, hey, there's going to be times that are, a lot of times this year are going to be very out of my control. And I'm just going to kind of have to really go with the flow. And So, obviously there was a final 5 cutoff last year going into lowers, and I was right there. I think there was like me and Stephanie and one other girl that was like right there to qualify for those like, 4th or 5th spot.
Yep.
And
I remember that.
yeah. And at the time, there was 2 events left, and, I went into Mexico. I was feeling really good. I actually felt like my boards were amazing. I felt like I was surfing really good. Everything kind of felt like it was flowing. And Barra, the way that is like such an incredible, that was my first time to Barra. It's such a good wave. And
yeah, it looked sick.
yeah, it was insane. It was like so fun. And I was, really excited about it, and had a really hard heat, came in for my heat that I lost. And I kind of just blew it. I made a few mistakes, and it was really irritating. And but I was still like, okay, like that sucked, like I kind of blew it. But I have Tahiti to get to, and that I can, if I do go to Tahiti, I can still make the final 5 to contend for the world title. And I come from that heat, and the first text I get on my phone is Tahiti's canceled because of COVID. Your season's over.
I remember that. Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was really, really irritating and really hard. And but that's the way it goes sometimes. And
Yeah.
I do believe everything happens for a reason. And it sucked to just miss out and to get 6th instead of 5th. But at the same time, it's like that was out of my control. It's pandemic going on in the world, and I was just stoked we were able to travel that year, and I was stoked that the Olympics happened. And
Yeah.
so, that definitely sucked, but overall it was a great year, and I learned a lot. And so that was definitely a bummer way to finish, but there was also a lot of positives to that year. So
yeah. I feel like, I mean, being anybody in the world during the pandemic was extremely hard, but it was just, there was so much added stress that came from even the things that you would never think you would have to do, right? Like to get a test to be able to leave the country, to go to another country, like to test negative, even if you don't have, there's a chance you could test positive. You obviously had that in 2021 in the early year. So there's just so many added stressors of 2021 that like just made the year very weird. And I'm really thankful that we're hopefully on the on the up and up, and don't have to be doing that ever again. But yeah, not a bad year at all, especially considering that it was they completely changed the style and how they crowned the champion pretty much. So how do you feel now? It's 2022. How many comps have you guys done? Like, how are you feeling? Where are you sitting?
Yeah, so actually, I haven't even competed at all this year.
Okay.
I actually have been taking some time off the tour right now, just for, some reasons, and just kind of having a little refresher. So everyone's actually in Australia right now. They've done Pipeline and Sunset and where else are they? Portugal.
Okay,
and now
cool.
they're in Australia. And so I've been taking some time off, been spending some time with my family, and
Good.
Looking forward to competing soon. And I'm really excited about it, and I'm feeling very refreshed and very energized and very good. And it's definitely made me have a whole new level of appreciation for competing and everything. So I'm really excited to get back into it. And it was definitely a nice little break, but I'm excited to go. I feel like I live to compete, so I'm excited about it. And it should be fun. So
That's awesome. Okay, I have a couple quick hitting questions because I've already taken up a significant chunk of your afternoon. So okay, first one, worst wipeout you've ever been in?
Oh my gosh, probably Tahiti. My whole bikini came off. Down to my ankles. I'm like trying to like put it on, and under the water is just like the Mother Nature is very powerful.
Yeah,
especially Chopu. So
for sure,
that was pretty embarrassing.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I mean, that wave is insane. So it makes sense that it would happen there. What is your favorite place to surf in the world?
Oh, that's a really hard one. Man.
I know, that's a tough question.
It's a very tough one. Cloud break is one of my favorite waves in the world. I love surfing Australia. Europe's amazing too. But it's also pretty hard to beat lower trestles just in my backyard. And it's just it's like a liquid skate park. Like, it's so fun
So nice.
It's really
So
hard to
nice.
pinpoint one wave, but I'd say maybe cloud breaker, maybe lower trestles are my favorite waves.
Nice. Do you drink coffee?
I do,
And
yes.
how do you take your coffee?
I need about 3 sips in the morning, and I'm just like
That's
wired.
it?
I need about 3 sips. Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
I know. I mean, sometimes I mainly drink it for the purpose that sometimes here when it's really cold in the morning, I like to just have something warm in my body. But other than that, I don't really feel like I need much caffeine. I'm pretty wired all the time. So
That's awesome. That's the youth in you right there.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah. But I like it really sweet. It's like I like a lot of creamer with like a side of coffee. Like just
Yeah.
like a milkshake.
Yeah, totally. All right. Who's your favorite athlete outside of surfing?
Wow, that's a really hard one.
I know that's a tough. I feel like favorites are so hard, but like whatever, I'm asking
Favorites
you
are
anyway.
hard. Favorites are very hard to pinpoint one person. There's so many incredible athletes out there. I love Simone Biles. I think she's such a badass, and as well as
Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
yeah, she's amazing. And Serena and Venus Williams are pretty darn incredible. That new movie King Richard was like I saw it in theaters as soon as it came out. I was like so psyched about it. I don't even know much about tennis, but they're badass. So it was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, they have an amazing story. I mean, have done so much for the sport and women in general. Great choices. All right. If you weren't a professional surfer, what would you be doing?
That's a great question. I mean, I used to want to be a veterinarian, so maybe
yeah.
that.
Okay.
But at the same time, like I feel like something competitive, something to do with something competitive, because it's just like I'm such a competitive person that I think I would have to do something to do with competing and working hard. I genuinely like, enjoy working hard and doing that and kind of having goals. So I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. So,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
but maybe I'd say something to do with sports. So yeah.
Cool. All right, last question. You're only 20 years old and you've accomplished so much already. Where do you see yourself going next? Like, what do you want out of your career?
Yeah, definitely, my main like goals, in the sport was definitely, world title and, medals and all that. So, make cool surf movies and surf a lot of waves and get really barreled. And those are my goals.
I love it. That's such a great answer.
Yeah.
Caroline, this has been awesome. It's been great talking to you. I know you have an incredible future ahead of you. I'm very excited to watch you shine. So keep it up. I'm glad you got some downtime, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back out in the water. So good luck with everything, and thanks for hopping on today.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time. I had fun chatting to you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Appreciate it. The Players Pod wouldn't be possible without our partners at WIS. WIS helps entrepreneurs and business leaders fulfill their potential by turning temporary roadblocks into long-term wins. No matter your business needs, WIS is ready to team up and take your company to the next level. So head to WIS.com to learn more about how they can help your business on its championship journey. That's WISS.com to find the teammates you need to accelerate your dreams and achieve your business goals today.